Hey everybody, thank you for listening to this episode of Pass the Mic, and we want to tell you a little bit about how you can support not just liking, subscribing, reviewing, but also our Patreon audience as well.
Absolutely. We are a listener-supported podcast, so thank you so much to our current patrons, and we want to invite you and give you the opportunity, if you're not already a patron, to go ahead and go to patreon.com/passthemic. You can pay as little as $1 an episode, and your support helps make this podcast possible.
Coders, $1, support us. Patreon.com/passthemic. Greetings and God bless. Welcome to another episode of Pass the Mic, Dynamic Voices for a Diverse Church, powered by The Witness, a Black Christian collective. I'm your host, Tyler Burns. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BurnsClan. Please follow at your own risk. And joining me today, I got double trouble on the podcast with my guest today. I'm so excited. To my right, we have the very extensive bio, the man, the myth, the legend, the two-time best-selling author, Mr. Blue Check Verified himself, the professor, Dr. Jemar Tisby. Follow him at jamartisby.substack.com. What's going on, brother?
Got it all. Very good. You got a lot to hold together.
And then on my left, we have, once again, one of my favorite people, the vice president of The Witness, the author of the forthcoming book,
I Won't Shut Up, Finding Your Voice When the World Tries to Silence You.
Woo, woo. The one, the only Allie Henny. Allie, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Glad to be here.
Listen, I know people do New Year's resolutions. Here's my New Year's resolution in 2023. I ain't going back and forth with y'all.
Wait,
I gotta be honest, okay? Not with y'all.
Make a hard podcast.
Not with y'all.
We can't go back and forth.
Not with y'all.
Okay.
I'm talking about y'all. You know y'all, right?
Y'all.
Yeah,
Y'all that shows
y'all.
up in your comment section. Y'all that be talking to you greasy in your DMs.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Y'all that be pulling you to the side when they see you in the grocery store.
Wow.
Y'all that be hitting you up in between sets in your gym. I'm not going back and forth with y'all. Listen, I know that there are some people, they just have this grace, or they've made a decision. I don't really know why you made this decision, but they have this thing that they feel like they need to go back and forth with everybody who disagrees with them, share their comments. I'm like, I don't know if do you, boo-boo.
Right.
I'm just saying, for me personally, I don't think I won't do that. Am I alone in that? I kind of feel like I'm over it.
You know, some people really do have like the ministry of quote tweets.
They really do.
And
I'm impressed by it.
That is not my ministry. My ministry is the ministry of blocking. My ministry is
Yes.
the ministry of putting people on mute and ignoring
The
them.
mute
That
ministry.
the mute ministry. That's my ministry. 'Cause I don't usually block people because sometimes I'm like, if they start threatening me and like saying crazy
I need to
stuff,
see
like
that.
I
Yeah.
want to see it. But usually, like I just put people on mute. I just ignore them.
Was there, for either of you, a sort of turning point when you said, okay, I used to do this, but no more? Was it a comment? Was it just how you were feeling in the moment?
Yeah, a pastor locally in Pensacola hopped in my inbox after I shared something and said that my church was cursed.
Oh,
So he,
Dang.
yeah. So he hopped in my inbox. He was like,
That escalated quickly.
That's why your church is cursed and all this. This was like a year and a half ago, I want to say, maybe 2 years ago. And I was like, okay. So I immediately like blocked him, unfollowed him, unfriended him, blocked him on Facebook. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm done. You know, like I've had wilder things said to me, but I think typically how it works when I started talking about racism and white supremacy around Mike Brown, Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, I got a lot of crazy Facebook comments, and then they stopped going back and forth with me because they knew they'd like, you're not gonna out talk me. Like it's just kind of like not the thing.
we know that's
You're
for sure.
not gonna out talk. That's not gonna happen. I mean, just what I do. You know, you might outthink me, you might out credential me, you might out spend me. There are a lot of things you can out with me. Talking ain't one of them. So I mean, it was kind of like a run up, get done up situation, and it was getting them in spots with their church and with people who are watching.
Yeah.
So they were kind of like, oh, okay, let's stop doing that. And so a couple of people did it. So I was like, you may not want to do that ever again. And so they say stuff to me in person. Like I had one pastor admit to me, no lie, I'm not playing with y'all. One pastor admit to me that he had actually been involved in an officer-involved shooting when he was a police officer and shot somebody in the neck because he was a black man. And he literally told me that. He literally volunteered that information. And I said, why are you telling me this?
Because I feel like you could go to
Yeah, like I'm like,
trial
this is
for
like
that.
this is like a very serious situation.
This
But
is
apparently he
evidence.
did. So apparently it was already adjudicated. So it was an adjudicated situation.
So double jeopardy
yeah,
had
exactly.
attached.
Yeah,
I've
so I
already
was
been
like,
acquitted.
oh, okay, like what's happening here? Like, so I feel like people say wild stuff to me. You know, black people are more psychologically predisposed to crime. Another pastor said that, you know, the real issue with black people is they let their women run everything. Another pastor said that.
Yeah, a lot of black dudes saying
Yeah,
that, too.
so you know, they say wild stuff to me, but see, so that's me. I'm kind of done with going back and forth with you. You know, if I say something to you, it's gonna be a one-hitter quitter. I'm going for haymakers. I'm not going for. I'm not getting into.
One and done.
I'm not getting
Let's
into
end
a
it quickly.
protracted back and forth with you. But I gotta ask, y'all have massive platforms, like big social media followings. People know your name. People make videos about you.
Oh my goodness.
People write articles
Oh,
about
no,
you.
Yeah, they do.
You remember when we used to have a whole bunch of videos made about us back when we were ran? So I'm curious, what do y'all inbox be looking like? What's y'all inbox? What y'all? I know y'all not going back and forth with anybody.
I'm gonna let Allie have most of the airtime here because she's got these trolls come out. Mine, as you were saying, the ministry of mute, the ministry of blocking. At this point, I see a lot less, but it's out there for sure. The kind of stuff is the typical kind of stuff. Actually, what I point to are the 1-star reviews I get for my books.
You got to read a
which
couple
is-
of these.
It's
Okay.
it's hilarious. To me.
Okay, so this is officially PTM hate read.
So to balance this out, if you've read either of my books, Color of Compromise, How to Fight Racism, go ahead and leave your 5-star review because what they try to do is review bomb people,
Yes.
particularly around racial justice or issues of gender kind of things. They'll go in and deliberately target these prominent books or authors in order to bring their ratings down. But a lot of it's just dumb. So, okay, we've all heard some version of this before. This one is about, I truly would have expected more from a man who graduated from Reformed Theological Seminary. This is sophism to the 10th power. After reading many reviews, I'm very concerned for people's views on quote unquote history and history books. To compare this book to history would be to call Howard Zinn a historian and his book, A People's History of the United States, a book. So, what Jemar Tisby does is multifaceted. He plays on emotions rather than objective facts and takes advantage of
Yes.
American ignorance.
Jamar
of our world's
Tisby,
history.
well-known emotionalist. Have you ever met Jamar?
I'm a very emotional guy.
Nah, that boy ain't emotional at all. That boy clinical. I don't
But
know
what
what
had
you're talking
happened
about.
was, this one stuck out to me because it's the Christian bona fides. That's why he starts out, I truly would have expected more from a man who graduated from Reformed Theological Seminary, which in this person's view is a safe school because it's sufficiently conservative. So when he's saying I would have expected more, he's saying, well, with somebody who got such good theological education, how could he end up so far to the left, so wrong, right? And that's one of the main things these trolls try to do is undermine our credibility as Christians. Then this person goes on to try to undermine my credibility as a historian. He's playing off emotion instead of objective facts. Of course, who has objective facts? It's always the white men.
Of course.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that
Boy.
interesting? Boy.
What is in that DNA?
Isn't that funny?
Wow.
You know, so that, and this is actually related to, you know, blocking AP African American studies, right? Because
don't get
if
me
someone's
started.
coming in with a different perspective, even though it is the same set of historical facts, that's where they put the line down. That's when they begin the trolling and all of that stuff. So that's just one example.
Wow. Ali, I know you got. I
mean,
don't
it's
even
like how
know,
long you
like,
got
how
for the
long do
show.
we have?
Yeah, so your trolls are way more sophisticated than mine are. I just want to give a shout out to the very intellectual.
Can we get a shout out to the
He said
intellectual
sophism.
trolls?
Like, I know, like talking about sophism, talking about like all these different people that I don't know who that man was, Howard Zinn or whatever.
know
Yeah, Howard
Who
Zinn.
that is?
People's
I mean, I
History,
don't know
People's History of the U.S.
I
Yeah.
don't know who he was.
Oh yeah. It's a very popular book. People's History of America.
Sorry to that man because I don't know who
Shout
he
out
is.
Kiki Palmer. You can come on the show anytime.
Yes, girl. So I don't get like that type of trolling. The type of trolling that I get is racism aside. I'll overlook your gross racism for a moment just to ask, how many cheeseburgers did you eat this morning?
Wow.
Dang.
Wow.
Bro.
Question, were you born racist or converted recently? Also, how many cheeseburgers did you eat today?
Wow.
Also, is your double chin its own separate racist entity, or do you count it as an overall whole?
Wow.
I have faith that you will lose weight. Good luck with you journey, you fat. I don't think God planned enough meals for your fat. You're a racist. I really hope you get exposed to people. There's literally no difference between you and a Klan member. Same ideology, different look. So this is one that you'll have to fill in your imagination with what it says. But it basically says that I can perform a sex act on this person's white sexual organ
Wow.
and choke on it.
Wow.
Then
send me his ad. Send me his ad real quick.
So some more kind of little bit lighthearted ones. If you don't want feedback, keep your mouth shut then, clown. Pardon the ableist slur here, but you're an idiot. This person actually went to my website and filled out the contact form to say this three words to me. I don't know why we do that.
Feels like that's over the top. Like you're gonna.
That's
really
very over the top. There's one that I can't read. I think the only racist bigot we have here is you. Stop spreading hate, you low-life piece of dookie, except for they didn't say dookie. You're the reason why our country is in the condition it is right now. Let's see.
Wow, he had that much power? Wow.
Yes, literally.
You, again, ableist slur, you dumb, LMAO. And I could go on, like there's a whole bunch. Like I'm scrolling through these These are all, if you see the video, I've scrolled through 20 pages so far, probably 10, 15 things of negative messages.
You know, beyond just simply the heinous nature of those messages, it's very interesting to see how people will respond to us versus respond to her.
Yep.
And, you know, I'll say like a few times I've seen people who attack people like you and Truth Stable and be much more descriptive of physical features, things of that nature. And they'll attack us and be like, y'all are heretics.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you're a heretic, or you don't know what you're talking about, or, you know, you're a false teacher, you're apostate. But with you, it's different. And with Black women, it's different. So I think like that gendered, like sexual attack, you know, attack on your body.
And it's so personal. Like I was hearing you read that and I just want to be like, yo, sis, you good? Not that you're not strong, strong can't handle that, but like if somebody was directing those kinds of comments at me, I'd be like, whew, like this is way more than about my work or my comment.
Yeah. And you know, it's really interesting that you bring that up, because I have noticed, and to be fair to I guess your trolls maybe a little bit, that my audience for my show, for my posts and everything is there are a lot of non-Christians in the audience.
Definitely.
So I experience trolling from Christian men a little bit differently. There are less attacks. I say less, fewer. It should be fewer, not less. I experience fewer attacks like on my looks, even though I've had that happen before, and I've had that happen where the person said something like called me fat or something like that, which is whatever. Yeah, I'm fat, and like that's not hurting my feelings to call me fat. It's descriptive of what I am. I'm fine with being fat. But the person like was saying all this about like how you need to lose weight and you must feel really bad about yourself. So sometimes I don't always do this, but this was in a comment on my page, and I was like, I wonder who this person is. And I clicked through.
I remember this. Yeah.
And this person had in their profile that they were, a husband and loved God and whatever. And so I popped back in the comment and I was
Christian
like,
husband, father, Twitter.
I was like, so you say that you love Jesus, but you talk to me like this? So then they tried to flip the script and be like, oh, well, I'm just concerned about you and your health. And it was like,
What?
No,
you
not.
need to go on
You got
somewhere.
You got caught.
Go
you
ahead,
got
take
caught.
that L.
Like he
Yeah.
got caught. He's got to take the L on that one. I'm sorry. I am wiping a tear, but I promise you, I'm not actually crying. Like my eyes are like just watering. Like for real, I'm not. Like
You
my-
sure?
There's
Okay.
room for that
Yo,
on
Oh
the
yeah,
show.
I'm
You
like
okay.
no. I'm just like, oh, people are gonna see this. Like no, I am not actually crying. My eyes are literally just like I have something. Like my head is blocked and it's starting to come out through
Well,
my
it happens
eyes.
a lot when people look directly at me. So you
Okay.
never know.
No, so no,
No,
that-
I think what's gonna happen is the people gonna use that now. That's gonna be the thumbnail. Ali Henny cries about troll tweets.
like because of the trolls. Like no, I mean
That's
like,
gonna be the thumbnail
the
picture.
meme.
like no, I am not crying thug tears over these trolls. Like most of the time, honestly, I think it's hilarious. The thing that I was scrolling to, that's actually like the group of pictures that I sent to my husband's. I'll send it to people, so to people that I know that is like whatever. A lot of times I find it funny, but at that point, whenever I had sent all those, it had been going on like nonstop for like a week, and so after a while, like that really starts. It's like
starts
it's more starts to wear on you, where it's like, oh hey, this person. Whenever it first started, I was like, oh hey, this person said this thing, and boy, they sound ignorant, and then it's like, oh, this person's ignorant, this person's whatever. But then it's going on, and it keeps going on, and it keeps going on. But it's interesting that the Christian trolling, the Christian man trolling, the Christian white man trolling is different than people, at least who, I mean, I don't know these people's spiritual backgrounds or not, but in the space of like, I'm critiquing your theology, I'm whatever. I will say that people do approach me a little bit differently, but I did one time have a Christian man, I don't know if he was a pastor or not, but I had used the term theobrogen, and I think maybe I called him a theobrogen, and I don't even think that I called him a theobrogen, I think I just used the
I
term.
remember this, yeah.
And this man he's a Christian man, sent me pictures of himself, like, one was he was like in the mirror, like at like his gym or something like that, like in the locker room or something like that. And he had like his little shirt that had the sleeves out, his little chicken arms show. I shouldn't. That's body shaming. I shouldn't do that. But he had his arms showing. And then another one he was like walking. And these were pictures that he took like expressly, like selfies. It seemed like he took expressly for
Right.
me.
What is the
And he's
message
got
here?
his little AirPods in. And so one of them like he put theobrogen like on it. And I think the other one like he put like Brovinus like in the caption, and I was just like, I was like,
sending
I'm a
pictures to a
married
married
woman.
woman?
I was like, sir, I am a married woman. I do not want to see a picture of you with your arms out with muscles trying to impress me. Like, please stop. And so then he was trying to walk it back like, no, I was just like whatever. And I'm just like, but for me it was like the machismo. Like I'm going to, I am in.
I'm a bro. I'm a theo
I'm
bro.
here, and I'm a theobrogen, and I've got my little. I'm taking my little selfie in the thing, and I'm like whatever.
I can't even curl my
And it
arms
was-
to take the picture.
Yeah, and
It's so intense.
and it's just like this feels
John Wayne
like.
thing.
Right.
I mean, this was obviously a man, but I'm just like, this is something that like a 16-year-old kid would do. Like
Immature.
you're posturing because I didn't even like call this. I don't even think I called this dude a theologian. He was just
used
like
the term, yeah.
the term. I just said the term, and he glommed onto it and was like, I think, kind of somewhat offended and insulted, and was trying to like reappropriate it or whatever. But it's really interesting
It ain't
to
the
me.
flex you think. You know?
Yo,
It's
like,
really not. But it's almost like this posturing that I experience, and then of course the sexualized and the looks and the whatever. It's really.
And this is, I mean, with the whole trolling thing, there's a couple of things at work. One, it's a war of attrition, like you said. This one comment too, but this going on continuously for a week. That's when, like, my first major incident was James White, and he did a whole YouTube takedown video. What I didn't realize at this point, this is 2015, 2016, is the minions that
Oh my
these
gosh,
folks
the minions, the flying monkeys.
accumulate. And because
and 100% that was very hard, I think, to navigate, because when you see a concentrated attack, it felt different.
Yeah.
And then that one, and then gender apartheid
Yes.
as well. Like,
was just a
so
couple
they
months
were.
later.
I remember there was like, they put stuff out about my parents and my church, or they put their names online.
Oh
So
my
I was just
gosh.
like,
They were
I
trying to
was
do
like,
some
what's gonna
doxing
happen?
stuff
Yeah, so
like
I was like, what's gonna happen? Like, do I need to be prepared at church? Things like that. Where you think about, and so that was very interesting. But yeah, when the James White situation happened, and it was so much more concentrated, so they would just show up in our inbox just all the time.
And it's just, I'll never forget. So there was that one. This is when I'm beginning to realize, like, oh, it's not just the video. It's who's watching it and is going to get amped up by it.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then for 3 weeks solid, it was just constant attacks. I mean, sending pictures and all N-word, all of that stuff, right? And then there was another incident. We've talked about this on mic before, but I was at a Gospel Coalition conference years ago. I had always, ironically, dreamed about getting on the main stage, because this was the big thing in Reform circles, right? Like, if you got on stage there, you had made it, all that stuff. And through a strange series of events, I finally got to a main stage at one of these conferences. I was on a panel, and they asked me about MLK's theology. Basically, is he a heretic? And I was like, you know what? We should really be asking about the theology of slaveholders, because,
Well,
I forgot you did that. Yeah.
Well,
I forgot you did that, because I remember the fallout of that.
the fallout was by the time I got off stage, so minutes later, my mentions were absolute dumpster fire. And what stood out to me was they were live streaming this Christian event, and they hadn't edited it, recorded, put anything out. So the only way you could have seen it is if you were watching the live stream or you were there in person, which meant it was all of these Christians tuning into a Christian conference who then were trolling me so egregiously moments after that interaction. I'm like, oh, there's something about this mix of toxic masculinity, very narrow Christian conservatism, this reformed theo-bro culture, all of that was in the soup that then created this ridiculous onslaught and aftermath of all these trolls. And I was like, this is nasty when it's in the household of God,
I think, for all of us, we do so much work, and we have to do so much work of whether it's producing content or creating space or pastoring churches or teaching classes. We do all this work, and we don't have time, energy, bandwidth, capacity to go back and forth with people, And I think, we should never act like, and I don't want to paint the picture, oh, this stuff doesn't affect us ever.
Yeah.
Like, the onslaught of it like wears on our bodies. Like, there's no doubt about that.
Weathering.
I think there's also like the concept, if you do very local work, which I think is important to distill for some people who do this work, because I think they'll resonate. If you do local work, when you go out in public, it's different when you go out in public. Because you recognize that people will treat you according to the stances you've taken and the marches you've led and the protests you've attended, and that there's sometimes that could be a physical danger to you or physical impairment to enjoyment, things of that nature. But we just don't have time for this. Like, I feel like we really, when I think about our bodies and when I think about our minds and when I think about even our souls, you know, becoming numb to insults, you know, just becoming desensitized to certain stuff like that. We don't have time to go back. We're not going back and forth with y'all. So I think it's important just to officially say on the podcast, if some of them are listening or watching, if you hit us up, we're not gonna go back and forth with y'all.
Why won't you answer me?
Right, like it's just, we used to do that. We used to go back and forth with people. We used to go back and forth with, you know, James White or whoever, fill in the blank. We're not doing that anymore, man.
But I've got to put the caveat in. Sometimes I do for pedagogical purposes.
Right.
So there's two levels. One,
Pedagogical. He's
Yeah.
he's a pedagogue.
You notice I said yeah,
Yeah.
Greek pedagogos.
yeah. We know what pedagogos means.
But
Go-go dancing.
so a lot of times, white folks don't know this is happening or don't know it's happening at the level it is. And sometimes
Sure.
I need would-be allies to understand the costliness of this work for Black people who do it. Because the comments are constant. What you actually end up seeing is probably just a fraction of what we actually get.
Absolutely.
You get it in person a lot more.
Oh, man.
But online DMs, I've gotten letters, like handwritten letters. So I think there is a purpose, a helpful purpose in somehow demonstrating to our white brothers and sisters who want to be allies on this journey toward racial justice, like, here's what it is costing me. You may not see it, but I need you to understand what this is like. And then the second educational purpose, I think, is I will sometimes not really go back and forth because I'm not really arguing with the individual, but I'll quote tweet or I'll take the phrase
for sure.
or the principle of the argument and say, I get this all the time. You know, this
No, that's
person is
dope.
discrediting.
That's-
blah,
that's
blah, blah, blah,
dope.
blah. And then, you know, basically saying, ABC, why this is wrong, why this falls short, why this isn't a legitimate critique.
But that's using it as a teachable opportunity,
Exactly.
educational
Yes.
moment. Like,
There's
for
teachable
sure.
moments in there. So, you know, sometimes I'll drop just, a lot of times what I do in the interaction, if I do address someone specifically, it's in the comments, and I'll kind of leave it open-ended, like ask a question. Like I remember specifically, because I thought through this, somebody was trolling me on the, you're not a real historian, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, well, what books would you recommend I read to get more of your perspective? Now, they never responded, but it was a really interesting, because if they had, they would have shown all their cards about what biased sources they're using. And it puts the onus on them.
You gotta say that for Patreon. You can't put that out there. We giving them tactics. We giving them tactics now.
You gotta pay extra for that.
You gotta pay extra for that.
But yeah, I'll leave it open-ended to where
That's the masterclass, man. Come on.
when
now.
you answer, you're indicting yourself, basically.
Exactly.
So, you know, kind of a Socratic whatever. And I'm not great at that. There are some people, like I believe both of you are thinkers foremost, right? Like you can break something down. I'm a feeler. I'm gonna feel that comment right away, and then I'll think about what to say. Y'all are like, no, that's dumb. This is why.
It's fun to dunk on people.
That's right.
Like,
That's
so
right.
I
I
don't-
feel
I
like
don't
that
use-
comes more naturally to y'all, but
I don't often respond anymore, you know, to trolls, people that like legitimately want to know something. They legitimately are seeking information, even if the way that they're saying it isn't the best. I'll take some time to explain. But with trolls, I just usually just let them go. But sometimes it's fun to just dunk on somebody, especially like whenever they have set themselves up into like kind of this self-own type situation.
Absolutely.
lover of God.
Yes,
Right.
and it's like, oh, okay, so you're gonna a cell phone type situation.
Yeah.
Like there was one time that I had tweeted something about, I think it was like, Mary, did you know that song about like it mansplaining who Jesus was to the Mother of God. Now, of course, I was just joking about this. It wasn't. I was actually writing a paper at the time on the passage on the Magnificat whenever I was in seminary. So I was like, wait a minute, this song mansplains. And so I said this. Well, then some theologian jumps into I tweeted it. And so some theologian jumps into my mentions and is like, well, you know, you shouldn't call Mary the Mother of God, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, this is too good. This is too perfect
Right.
an
You're
opportunity,
like, wait a
because
minute.
what I knew that this person didn't evidently know is that there had been a whole entire church council where they discussed the Theotokos, I'm not going to pronounce it right, but they discussed Mary being the mother of God and how it was proper to call Mary the mother of God because she was the mother of Jesus, and Jesus is what?
God.
God. And if you don't believe that Jesus is God,
We got a
then
problem.
you are a heretic. So I so I kindly pointed this out to this person, much more because I was still in seminary and knew the names of the people and whatever.
You
and
dropped them
I
multi-syllabic.
Oh yeah,
I
she
dropped
flexed on it.
them,
That's the
whatever.
proper flex. That's the proper
And
flex.
so I flexed, and so this person was like, they went silent for a minute. And then they came back and they were like, "Oh yeah, I learned something because I didn't know because I basically
I learned something.
because it was like
Hey.
actually you're the one that's in heresy
Right,
by
you
not
the
affirming
heretic.
that Mary is the mother of
Yeah,
God."
these folks are not bringing their best to these comments.
Right.
They're not bringing. These are not well-informed people, by and large, which is also insulting. It also mirrors our political reality. Like the folks are not putting forth their most accomplished people as leaders or spokespeople, which is part of the tactic too. Like it's insulting to say like, oh, you're not even going to come with the level of preparation and study that I have. You're just going to spout off at the mouth because you can, which is another reason why we don't go back and forth.
Yeah.
And a lot of these aren't even good faith. I mean, they're not trying to really make a point. They're just trying to really hurt you.
Yeah, I just want to encourage Black Christians, like, if it serves a purpose, do it. But if it doesn't, don't waste your time. The function of racism is distraction. And if there's something that you can be doing that is more productive, even your rest.
Listen.
Even your rest is more productive. Even your
Yes.
lack of scrolling, even your sitting outside and drinking your tea is a better use of your time than going after these folks
Yes,
and letting them
amen.
get to you. Don't let them get to you. And so I just want to tell us, be free.
Be free.
Be
Be
free.
free this year. Be
We're
free
going
in
back and forth with
2023.
y'all.
Be free in 2023.
Okay,
Be
Pastor.
free.